The cubes are everywhere this season, so we thought it was time to look at how they got here, where they came from, and study how one purple cube named Kevin evolved to become the driving force behind the Fortnite storyline. Let's go! The giant purple cube first appeared on Fortnite Island on August 24th, 2018, during Chapter 1, Season 5. It was a mysterious object, and no one knew what to expect. The cube appeared near Paradise Palms, being created from several lightning strikes from the crack in the sky, a literal crack that formed after the blast-off event from Season 4. After the cube spawned, the crack in the sky dissipated, and the cube took its final shape. It first seemed to be a stationary object that glowed brightly in intervals, and players found that they could bounce off of it, though they couldn't harm it or be harmed themselves. But then, it began to move at the slow rate of 1 revolution every 1 hour and 43 minutes, and everyone got momentarily excited. Nobody knew where it would end up. The true mystery of the cube began when it took a journey around the map. The cube printed 7 runes with anti-gravity domes surrounding them. Throughout the final 3 weeks of Season 5, the cube continued to stamp these runes into the ground. After finishing this process, the cube destroyed the sporting goods store in Tilted Towers, which was in its final stage of reopening after previously getting hit by a meteorite. Was it just coincidence, or was this the first manifestation of the cube's dark energy? The cube then traveled to the edge of Loot Lake on September 19th, 2018. The cube flipped into the lake and appeared to dissolve, turning Loot Lake into a purple-pink gelatinous substance with properties akin to the cube itself, such as providing a very bouncy surface. When Season 6 began, players were surprised to find that the cube was still intact. It rose from the waters of Loot Lake with lightning shooting out, taking the cabin and island in the center of the lake with it, forming Floating Island. When the chunk of land went into the sky, it created a huge hole in the lake where the piece once stood, and a vortex formed in the middle. Just 2 days after the island rose into the air, the cube began to move Floating Island to each of the runes it had printed in Season 5. After powering up all of the runes individually, the cube summoned them all and formed them together in a levitating ring near the Salty Springs Mountain just outside of Dusty Divot. The cube then absorbed the energy from these rune-stamped landmasses, which then dropped to the ground after they were drained. Then an enormous portal formed above the cube, which expanded until it covered the entire island. Next, Fortnitemares began on October 24th, 2018, and the floating island exploded into multiple pieces, with the cube remaining intact. The floating pieces of land continued to revolve around the cube, and smaller portals formed in the sky. Following the cataclysm, the cube fragments that had been sent around the island began to release cube monsters, and they tormented the Fortnite map until November 4th. As more and more monsters were summoned though, the cube's energy slowly depleted, and it began to crack. As it cracked more and more, the cube began to drip its liquid into the vortex. On November 4th, the cube started to spin rapidly, which resulted in a white flash, with the cube splitting apart. Following the flash, players were teleported to the in-between, a land of bright, white linear silhouettes. Inside, a rift formed, which took the shape of a butterfly. The ghostly butterfly multiplied, and they all went to visit every player that was still alive. As each player put out their hand to touch the butterfly, a giant spark lit up and caused the whole screen to go white. Players were then sent back to the island through a rift to drop in like normal. Leaky Lake was refreshed with a new look, and the remnants of the cube were arranged in a Stonehenge-type configuration. It was around this time that Epic acknowledged fans had named the cube Kevin. At one point, the name Cube was banned on a mega thread on the Fortnite Battle Royale subreddit. As a result, the alternate nickname Kevin originated from the title of a post by Reddit user 6ace. Due to the name's rise in popularity and overwhelming adoption by the community, Epic gave a signal to fans by naming the final Fortnitemares 2018 reward the Lil Kevin backbling. Thus, the name became cemented in Fortnite history. For the rest of Chapter 1 Season 7, Kevin the Cube was gone. It wasn't until the Ice Storm event that we saw a trace of him again. The Ice King used a small chunk of the cube to summon the Ice Legion, which appeared to be ice-themed cube monsters, and also freeze the island. island, covering the entire surface in snow in order to stop Polar Peak from melting. Following the event, the cube was gone from the game until the finale of Chapter 1, Season X. The floating island returned with Kevin attached to the bottom. However, it was a different island from an alternate reality that came through a rift beacon. The island was a combination of the motel, Durr Burger, and Loot Lake. Later in Season X, a cube memorial actually appeared at Loot Lake. At the conclusion of the season, the End live event took place and sucked the entire map into a black hole. It was a huge turning point for everything Fortnite related, and a couple of days later, the world was introduced to Chapter 2. Beginning on October 15, 2019, the new chapter started off with a brand new map, and located on this gleaming terrain was the POI Steamy Stacks. It contains the power plant named Kevolution Energy, and at first appeared to be powered by Kevin the Cube. The power plant even has a replica of Kevin the Cube out front, and includes the cube icon on its smokestacks. Kevolution Energy has provided energy for the whole island in Chapter 2. The water inside for cooling the reactors is purple, and players can even use the smokestacks to fly up into the sky and launch their gliders. Steamy Stacks, the POI, has served as one big callback to the infamous purple cube. Though what's interesting is that Kevin's glyph symbols were never shown anywhere in the area, so whether or not Kevolution Energy actually uses Kevin the Cube's energy is up for debate. What makes the conspiracy even stranger is that we learn there is an alien spaceship hidden underneath Steamy Stacks in Season 7, but that's another story. In Season 5, we were exposed to the Bridge, an area owned and operated by the Imagined Order, which contains the Zero Point. The Bridge controls the Zero Point by using panels that appear to be made from the Loot Lake Cube monolith, as well as the Vault technology. Again, we were reminded that the power of the cube seems to influence the functioning of the loop, in addition to having a relationship with the Zero Point. In Season 6, the Zero Point was contained in the Spire by the Foundation, which spawned other mysteries connected to Kevin the Cube. There were 6 Spire Guardian launch towers that were spread around the map, and each were imprinted with rune markings that Kevin has stamped onto the island's surface back in Chapter 1, Season 5. Then at the end of Season 6, the character Raz uncovered the Spire artifact, which looked like a tiny sliver from Kevin the Cube. Raz was then corrupted by the dark energy of the Spire and the Spire artifact, which turned him into Glyph Master Raz, who had Kevin's glyphs engraved on his skin. He could then control the Zero Point crystals that appeared on the map, and he also attracted the attention of the aliens. In Season 7, the aliens launched a full-on invasion of Fortnite Island and parked their enormous mothership overhead. They blew up the Spire using what we assume was the power of the cubes, though they were not able to capture the Zero Point as it remained in the Bridge. As the aliens gained more and more influence over the island, they launched a Rift Tour event, which scanned the brains of characters to process the history of all Fortnite events. During the Rift Tour, we caught a glimpse of the cube returning to the island, though at the time we were unsure what it meant. When Fortnite Imposters launched, a mini version of the cube could be found moving like a toy in the Bridge Science Lab, again foreshadowing the resurgence of the cube. When Operation Skyfire commenced, we were sent up into the mothership by Dr. Sloan. Inside, we learned that the last reality had Kevin the Cube in their possession. Sloan was then able to deactivate the cube and arm all of the bombs attached to Corny Complex, leaving players trapped inside the mothership. Everyone banded together to successfully reboot the cube, which then turned blue, something we had never seen before. Then the room began rising to reveal a chamber that contained thousands of dormant purple cubes. The cubes began lighting up in waves of purple just as the bombs began to explode, and we were ejected from the mothership along with many of the cubes. Debris rained down from the island, thus launching the start of Season 8. As the tattered mothership lay crumbling in the ocean, we learned that there were 5 purple cubes, 1 golden cube, and 1 blue cube on the island's surface. The purple cubes have been located at the abductor crash sites, while the golden cube lay near Holly Hedges, and the blue cube rested at Friendly Forest. We've also been exposed to the Sideways, a bubble that contains an alternate dimension complete with cube monsters and air that is hostile to building. Within the first week of the season, season, the purple cubes began to move as well as the golden cube. We then discovered that once the golden cube got close enough to a purple cube, it could shock it, resulting in the purple cubes giving birth to smaller duplicate offspring. From here we can tell that the golden cube, sometimes referred to as the queen, will continue to travel around the island, kickstarting other purple cubes and making them reproduce. The purple cubes will continue to corrupt the island further, transforming the surface into purple and orange terrain, altering the map for most likely the rest of Chapter 2. This could also allow the sideways to expand and conjure more bubbles. In addition, we expect an anthropomorphized queen character to arrive midway through Season 8, which will no doubt cause more trouble along with cube monsters and other creatures than the aliens did. We foresee our one source of salvation being the blue cube, judging by how it can already replenish shield levels. Could the blue cube help shield the whole island from the intrusion of the sideways and the queen? What are your predictions for the rest of Season 8 and all of the cubes? Let us know with a comment down below, and we'll see you next time.